Hey everybody, that's Craig Adams. I am Tom Eschen, and yes, it's Saturday night. We wanted to give you an update outside the newscast for this storm. It's a bit complicated, and we need more time to talk about it because it's been snowing for a couple hours now. This is the video I believe you took a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, it's outside our studios here, just within
very
the
nice
past
camera
15
work,
minutes,
as always. But it started just after 8. But this, as you mentioned, this was after a few hours. There really isn't a lot of accumulation, but it's covering surfaces, which I think is causing some problems right now.
Yeah, you know, the pavement is cold, so even though we haven't had a lot of snow per se, it's causing slick roads.
Yeah.
Now, as you noted, it's been snowing here about 6 hours, since about 3 o'clock. And if you take a look at this video, you'll be able to see that it's really only accumulated about an inch here at our studios in 6 hours' time.
Yeah.
So, Claire, go ahead and take that full so people can see that a little bit better as we look at how the snow has been falling. You know, what we're looking at here is that even though the snow has been steady, it's like the snow crystal or snowflake growth factor has not been all that impressive. So what we mean by that is the ability for the flakes to gain size and allow for the accumulation to happen at a, should we say, a better pace, just really hasn't materialized at this point. So we're getting snow amounts that are not all that high.
Without getting too science-y,
yes.
Does that mean, that's obviously, there's temperatures involved here. And I think that's what we're seeing going into tomorrow with some of the freezing and maybe a little bit. I mean, today was supposed to be the bigger snow day into tomorrow morning, right?
Right. And on the radar now, if you look at this, it's just light snow. There's nothing here that's heavy. It's just kind of a light snow, occasionally moderate, and you can see how it's kind of been working across as we've been through the evening. There's even been some drier areas coming in where, you know, the snow just kind of tapers off to not much of anything. And the storm itself is a distance away. You can kind of see how the snow blossomed over the course of the afternoon and now into the evening. There's more moisture to the south. You can see it kind of lifting up there. That's where the center of the storm is, and that's going to be coming up as we head into, well, tomorrow in terms of the main core of it. So tonight and tomorrow is when we're talking about the storm impacting us. It's snow, and then it's sleet, and then freezing rain, and possibly just plain rain for some as temperatures warm up a little bit. And also high winds are going to become possible as we get into Sunday night and Monday. So again, it's kind of a, should we say, a complicated storm in the sense that there's a lot going on.
Are you expecting the snow to pick back up at all tonight, or is it going to be more like this just for a very long period of time?
I think it's going to be more like this for a good, you know, really the duration of the night. So it's not going to mean a sizable accumulation here in the capital region, but enough obviously to slow the travel down a lot.
Right. I think that's, I mean, obviously that's we're in Schenectady here. That's the accumulation here. But you said, we were talking earlier, there only has been, you know, at max 1 to 3 throughout the area. Because I know up north before the storm started, we were expecting, you know, upwards of 6 inches or so.
There probably will be. And I'll show you the snow breakdown map in a moment, at least as we see it at this juncture. Let's talk about temperatures right now. Pretty uniform. We've got low and mid-20s up and down the Hudson Valley, although it's upper 20s in the Poughkeepsie area. And then as you move outside the Hudson Valley, mostly lower 20s, few upper teens in the Adirondack. So it's plenty cold now for snow. And let's look at the storm. So the warm front is to our south.
Is this a nor'easter?
No.
Okay. I think we had some questions about that in the newsroom.
It's not a nor'easter.
It's coming through Ohio, so it's
coming
an Ohio
out of the Tennessee
Eastern,
Valley, pushing up into the Ohio Valley. The warm front is lifting north. That's what's causing the snow now. But as that warm front nudges closer, we're going to get a little more warm air to feed in. And the bottom line is that's going to allow for this transition to a mix of precipitation types later tonight and onwards into tomorrow. And that low pressure wave is going to track slowly just to our south, probably cross New York City tomorrow evening before heading up off the Maine coast and into the Canadian Maritimes. Now on the backside of this system, it's really going to get windy, and that could be another complicating factor into this storm, which we'll talk about more here in a second. And it's going to get pretty cold too as we set the table for next week's weather.
It looks like, you know, going to central New York, that's where I grew up, and it's got the lake effect snow machine on the back end of this.
We're going to see some lake effect snow.
We'll see that all stretch all the way here.
I think there's going to be some long stretching bands that come all the way down in towards the capital region and stretching into western New England. I'm going to go over to the wall here for a second,
All right.
and I'm going to show you the hour-by-hour forecast. And again, you can see how the snow is kind of about the area here as we continue to work through this evening. Now, you can see this pink area represents sleet and freezing rain working up as we head into the early morning hours. And then tomorrow during the day, that area of freezing rain is going to continue over a good chunk of the region. But note this little area here in the Hudson Valley from Albany and Point South. It could just warm up barely enough where it's warm enough for just plain rain. But I think a lot of the areas will stay sleet and freezing rain, and that is going to lead to some ice buildup. And that could complicate things like if you get enough of a buildup, tree limbs start falling down onto power lines, and yeah, we could get some power outages. So this is how it's going to evolve. A long duration period of precipitation, be it sleet and freezing rain for a lot of places, even up in the North Country, and possibly some rain here in the Hudson Valley. And then this all could transition back to a period of snow briefly tomorrow night as the storm pulls on away. And here you can see what's happening. The lake effect machine will start kicking in on Monday, and these bands could stretch all the way down into the capital region and into New England, the way things look at the current time. All right, let's talk about the snowfall. So this is how I've broken it down. It's pretty much as little as 2 inches and maybe as much as 4 from Albany, Schenectady, and Point South. 4 to maybe as much as 8 inches as you head up into Saratoga Springs, Glens Falls, and then out into the western Mohawk Valley. Now, again, when we give these ranges, a lot of folks like to focus in on the higher number, but it very well could end up being on the lower side. Now, the best chance, I think, of getting, should we say, more than a half a foot of snow up in the Adirondacks where 8+ inches is possible. But a lot of us, I think, will be in this 2 to 4 zone. Then here comes the other factor. We talked about the freezing rain. This could be a situation where we get some power outages because the ice buildup 1/4 to an inch, maybe 1/3 to as much as a 1/2 inch in spots. And that gets heavy, it comes down, you know, weights the branches down, and then they could start snapping, and we get at least the potential for some power outages, and that could be right here in the capital region, Schenectady County, Saratoga County, out towards Johnstown and into the Adirondacks, where, again, there'll be more snow, but it looks like there'll probably be some freezing rain up there or sleet as well. And here's the wind situation we're dealing with. We've got a high wind watch up for Sunday night and Monday as wind gusts could very easily go over 50 miles per hour. Here's our wind simulator, and you can see some of those gusts there, 40+. And when you got the weight of the ice on those branches and you start adding this wind, it makes it even easier for those branches to break off. Bring it on back here for a second, Claire.
I've got lots of questions.
Yeah,
that's
go
why.
ahead.
All right, let's start with the snow totals.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you put them up there. Is that some of that going to melt, though, by the time we get to this time tomorrow night, or is that that's going to be
really,
the coating,
because
if you will?
The temperatures, you know, the snow that's there, once the freezing rain and sleet goes on top of it, it just kind of forms like an icy coating on top of it.
Yeah.
Things get crunchy. Could it melt a little bit? In areas where maybe it's just plain rain, it could melt a little bit, and that could happen from Albany southward in the Hudson Valley. This temperature line is going to be very close. It could stay right at 32 or colder, or maybe go just above a degree or two, and that makes all the difference, having a temperature variation of a couple of degrees.
We saw we'll get to the wind in a second, but I did have a question about, we saw the timeline of things a few moments ago. The freezing rain period, what kind of wind are we looking at that for Sunday?
Starting late tonight, so, you know, early morning hours like 4 or 5 a.m., it starts to transition over. Here, locally, a little bit later north, maybe just after sunrise, a little bit further north. But it does look like, you know, that freezing rain sleet line could go up into the Adirondacks, and those areas too, you know, would get somewhat limited snowfall with this transition over, but it does really make things worse in the grand scheme of things, because once you get the sleet and freezing rain to kind of come on top of the snow, more weight is going on to trees and power lines, and then you get the better opportunity for them to perhaps come down.
And it's interesting. So you have the freezing rain period, and then you have, but I don't know, maybe potentially a flash freeze. You see it getting colder.
It is going to get cold
later on tomorrow night. And if you, or maybe you're someone that got rain, or you had more freezing rain or whatever, I'm wondering if the temperatures drop quick enough. I mean, we saw that a couple nights ago where it got very icy very quickly. Is that a fact at all? Like Sunday, even after the freezing rain threat maybe have ended?
I think what's going to happen is it will turn cold enough Sunday night. It may not be like a drop where it's going to drop 10 degrees in a half hour, but it's going to drop fast enough where, you know, whatever moisture is out there in the liquid variety is going to freeze over Sunday night, and that's going to create, you know, slick areas.
Yeah, and then you have this. This is why we're here, because this is a really interesting storm, because Monday you have the wind, which, like we talked about before, if you have ice that's already built up or even is around.
And that's really going to start Sunday night.
Yeah.
You know, really probably from 8 o'clock onwards, those wind gusts are really going to be picking up. So that will make for, as we said, a very, you know, added factor to all the complications we'll be dealing with this storm. So this is what we're looking at here. Snow is likely through tonight. It's not too heavy. Claire, you can go ahead and take this full too if you want, so folks can read it better. Sleet, freezing rain risk comes into play late. And then as we work into tomorrow, it's going to be a day of sleet and freezing rain, possibly plain rain for some areas, as we kind of showed you in the graphic, especially in parts of the Hudson Valley. Temperatures upper 20s to low 30s, so a window there where one side of that window is cold enough for mostly sleet and freezing rain, and the other side might be just warm enough for plain rain. And as we look at next week, it's a cold week again here for us. You know, really, winter has been kind of relentless this winter. You know, when you think about it, it started at Thanksgiving time.
It did,
with the snow, and we've had really very few days where it's moderated. We have the alert symbols up, obviously, for tomorrow and Monday, Monday in particular for the wind. But as far as other opportunities for snow next week, a storm is going to track out to our south on Thursday. But it looks like it's going to stay far enough to our south, at least at this juncture, where we're just grazed by it and we might see some light snow. So really the big story is mostly a cold pattern continuing through all of next week once we get through this storm that's impacting us this weekend.
And the good news here, you see the little emblem for President's Day. At least most people have Monday off. And, you know, this happened last weekend where it's not necessarily impacting the main travel periods. But, you know, if you're going to church tomorrow morning, or if you have plans potentially on Sunday because you knew you had Monday off, that this could cause a problem, even Monday, if the power outages start to come in.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big wild card here. Come on back to us, Claire, and Tom and I will wrap this up here. That is kind of the wild card factor, because we don't know if the power outages are really going to become widespread at this point. I mean, the potential is there for them to happen if, you know, you get enough buildup of the freezing rain. But we'll see how that plays out tomorrow. But the wind certainly will contribute to that possibility too.
Yeah, and then it's going to be cold the week after that. So
yeah, you don't want power out when we've got cold temperatures, because a cold house is not a good thing.
That's not a good thing for anybody. Yeah, so we'll be back, of course, tonight, tomorrow, and all day, updating everyone on exactly what's going on. This forecast seems like it's changing by the minute, so we're a good place to be.
All right, we'll be here tonight at 11 with the latest information.
We will, and then back tomorrow morning with our morning crew, and then we'll be back again. You know, obviously, as we talked about, tomorrow around that time, we'll be on to make sure we let you guys know the updates of the storm and exactly what's going on with some of that freezing stuff. So thanks for watching this, and we'll see you guys later.